right, welcome everyone to this Q&A. Again, I want to welcome everyone to this Q&A. Sorry for the delay, technical issue, a little bit of technical issue. So question, has come up in the past, and like all good things that bears repeating, and that is that when it comes to, let's say, when it comes to the workplace, let's say, or any interaction, person walks in, walks into a bank, walks into a store, walks into, wherever a person is. So, sometimes you might be in a position where you have to deal with somebody. You have to deal with somebody of the opposite sex. Now, if someone's married, then, a person definitely, should have boundaries. I know somebody that, this woman will never address a man by his first name. Right? In other words, the boundary. Right? I mean, person doesn't come in contact with other people. Right? But when this person does, they won't speak to them, in the first person. Or let's say better. They'll speak to them in the first person, but they won't speak to them. They won't call them by the first name. Now, why not? Why not? Because call someone by the first name. Person's a little more, a little more chummy, a little more friendly. There are no barriers. Now, what do you do if someone says, well, I don't want you to call me Mr. So-and-so, or whatever the case is. Okay, so, a person, you have to know what to do over here. Because, on the one hand, you don't want to offend people. On the other hand, what could be the issue? You want to put up boundaries. So, we work with different people, we're in contact with different people. And it's very easy, especially, let's say, in the workplace, where you have to deal with other people. You can't just ignore them. Let's say you're working on a project. So everyone's working together, right? You have a lot of people working together. And it's not going to be either all men or all women, right? Again, it depends where you work, but probably most places, that's not going to be the case. So, there have to be a certain level of boundaries. Now, it doesn't mean person can't say hello to the other person, whatever, but you got to be careful. You got to be careful because once, you get a little bit chummy, then, like we said, barriers can be broken down. And, there have been things that have happened that, never should have happened. Totally never should have happened. But on the other hand, things can happen. Nothing is 100%, foolproof. But at the same time, a person's friendly with someone else. You just don't know. You don't know how far it can go. You're going to say, come on, a person married, could be married a long time. You don't know. That's one area we don't tempt, or we try to the best of our ability. Something, we want to tempt. It's something where, let's say that you're playing with fire. One of the strongest powers that a person has. Right? And not, here, you don't want someone's married. It's not like, after they've been married, they're married a number of years, that person never has a desire for someone, of the opposite sex. You're going to say, well, if it's a happy marriage, that should be the case. That shouldn't be an issue. Should be. It should be. But just because, when a person's under the canopy, the rabbi makes the first blessing, basically, or second blessing, basically says, that they are consecrated to each other. And they're forbidden, to everybody else. In other words, once they're consecrated to each other, they 100% can't be with anybody else. That's forbidden. So once that is done, I'm not going to say the clock is ticking. Not going to say that. But again, a person has to be careful. Now, someone will say, well, I'm not married, right? Single, I'm divorced, whatever, whatever it is. So for any JIT, a Jew in training, right? We'll make it by a Jew in training. We'll make it clear that any Jew in training, and I'm not the only one who says this, plenty of other people, who say this, and that is that if a person's a JIT, unless you're married, right? Unless you're married and you and your spouse are going in the same path, no one should date until after they finish conversion. Certainly, if a Jew, a non-Jew shouldn't be dating a Jew, no question about that. But, if it already happened and this and that, it's one thing, right? But, that should not take place, until after conversion. Now, why? What's the rationale? Very simple. The rationale is you don't want to, if this is the most important thing in your life, and a person's going to do whatever it takes to get to the other side, i.e. to convert, you can't get distracted. If you get distracted, you lose. You're going to lose. It's not going to happen, right? The reason is you want to make sure 100% that you and future spouse or whatever, 100% going in the right direction, same direction. Because if you're not going in the same direction, it's going to be a big problem. Very big problem. Right? Then, what happens is you complicate the situation tremendously. So therefore, you're going to be on the same path. Now, questions that come up, and this is harder. This is harder, let's say, for non-Jews that aren't going to convert, right? For Noahites, and that is, who are we allowed to date? Let's say they're not married. Who are they allowed to date? Or even better, who are they allowed to marry? Had someone, tell me, well, if I marry a Christian and they want they want a service in the church, right? So if the religious service, can't do it. So that's one problem. You marry a Muslim, let's say, then forget about kids issues. We'll speak about that, right? But let's say a person marries a Muslim, and there's a specific service for Muslims. It's also a problem because there are certain things you'd have to declare that you can't. That's forbidden, even though most rabbinical authorities would hold Islam is not idolatry. Now, we both believe in the same God. Jews and Muslims believe in the same God. Doesn't matter. Certain things still you can't do. And if someone would want to dog me and say, well, if we're not going to treat Noahites like right, let them be Muslim light. Well, who says, because Muslims keep the Noahide laws. Not true. Definitely not true. All I have to do is find one. Find one law that, on the books for Noahides wouldn't apply over here. Right? Not that to be a world expert in Sharia law, but there are going to be plenty of things, plenty of things, the Muslims do that will not be according to Noahide laws. Murder, one of them, right? At least you got these fundamentalists saying, and advocating that and all that. So that would be one of them, but I don't, someone says, well, give me a list. Why do I have to give a list? Waste my time. Make a laundry list of things that don't apply to them or that they don't keep. Like I said, all I need to find is one. But the point is that even if we would say they're closer to Noahides than anybody else, which probably is true, the Rambam says can't go against the prophecy of Moshe Rabbeinu. You go against the prophecy of Moshe Rabbeinu, you're out. It's like making up a new religion. Christianity, Islam, Hindus, throw them all together. All the 80,000 religions. You come against the God of Israel. You go against prophecy of Moshe Rabbeinu. It's a made-up religion. False. Right? So can't have anything to do with it. Either way. Even if they're similar. Maybe they're similar to Noahides and Muslims. Maybe. But certainly not in everything. Right? So that wouldn't apply. Totally wouldn't apply. Now, the issue is, let's say you didn't have that problem. Let's say a person married to let's say a Christian. Is it forbidden for a Noahide to be married to a Christian? No, not forbidden. They'll have to answer for themselves. That's not your problem. The issue is, how do you raise your kids? That's a much bigger issue. That's a much more severe issue. But let's say, you work out something. Okay, so, who said you can't marry that person or stayed married to that person? I know a number of people, Noahides married to Christians. Their spouse never going to change, right? At least at the moment, in a happy marriage. I wouldn't tell someone to get divorced because of it. There are people who say, forget about conversion. They just, it goes against everything they stand for by being an Noahide and being lied to and manipulated and all these things. Okay. But then again, is a person willing to throw their spouse under the bus and throw them out? Now, some might. I know someone, I don't know the whole story or part of the story, but they said, they went through the conversion process, very happy they're Jewish. They paid a price. They said they paid a severe price. They lost their spouse. Now again, they're happy. They went through the process. They're happy that they finished. But at the same time, they paid a price. They absolutely paid a price. So, I wouldn't tell people to do this. Unless something, unless it's just so much animosity. That'd be a different issue. Then there's belittling. I know of a story. Somebody, their spouse was a Bible thumper. This person the other spouse was a Noahide. They got made fun of left and right. Left and right, belittled, made fun of, by the spouse, by their family, different things. That's like a miracle. But eventually this person came around. But going through it, very hard. That's no question. If there are issues, a person will get divorced anyway. Okay, different issue. But only because of this, I wouldn't say that. Which really leads to the point, that I wanted to make over here. And, and that is, we meet all kinds of people, even, may speak to them on the phone or through the computer or whatever. We meet them through social media. So we don't know, person can text people. Nobody knows who a person really is, right? People can hide behind names and things and this and that. Till you get to meet them, speak to them, see where they're coming from, right? But what's the idea over here? The idea is a person has to be extremely careful in cultivating relationships with people of the opposite sex. Now, someone will say, but you're not doing anything. You just, you're online, right? You're not going to meet the person. You're not this or that. There have to be boundaries. There's good reason in many ways why men and women don't stay friends, or why men and women can't have a friendship in general. What we'll call a platonic relationship, right? Platonic meaning, no physicality, nothing else going on. They relate to each other, this, that. So there was a movie in the 1980s. It was called When Harry Met Sally. Not saying anyone should watch it, right? But that was the whole point of the movie. The whole point is that a man and a woman cannot just be friends, because physicality always gets in the way. Now, someone will say, let's say that's not going to be an issue. You're never going to meet the person. You're friends online. Let's say, is there anything wrong with such a thing? And the answer is, you got to be careful. That's the answer. Men should not be friends with women in general. No offense to either sex, right? And I'm a guy, right? Having a quote unquote, forget you're married or not. I'm not even saying you're married, right? If you're married, there's also a different issue. I'll speak about that also. Someone who's not married, right? Well, you'll say, what's the problem? So I'll tell you, in Orthodox circles, men and women in general don't talk. What are you going to say? What about siblings? What about brothers and sisters? Different issue. Totally different issue. Well, let's say relatives. How much does a nephew speak to their aunts? Doesn't mean they don't see them at family functions. Doesn't mean they don't get together. Families don't get together. But it's not like it's a close relationship. They have more relationship with their uncle, with their cousins. Not a personal affront, boundaries. It's boundaries. So someone could ask the question and say, family. What? I'm not even talking about strangers. Family. What could go wrong? Don't ask. A lot of things could go wrong. There's stories, someone, where's the come up? Brother-in-laws and sister-in-laws. Okay, they're related. This person married their sister or their brother. Okay. Very good. So does that mean they should be overly chummy? Members of the opposite sex? No. That doesn't mean they can't be friendly per se. Right? You're not just going to ignore the other person. But in general, they're not going to be like, buddy, so to speak. There's good reason. You're going to say, what could possibly happen? And the answer is, things have happened. It's happened. Am I going to, do I know what the statistics are, of how frequent it is? It's probably not so frequent. Guaranteed it's probably not so frequent. But even if it happens, it's bad. Even if it's not so frequent. So a person has to be careful. Again, does that mean you totally ignore them? No. But there have to be boundaries. If you don't make boundaries, can potentially things happen in theory. You can say, come on, it's so far-fetched. It's not. There are cases the Talmud breaks down. People say, come on, you really think this could happen? Ma'aseh Shaya, this is what happened. Not saying, oh, I thought about it, and this could happen. Yeah, there are things that could happen. True. But when they say this actually happened, that's just not something we're thinking about in space. This isn't something at all, it's 1 in a million. It's 1 in a billion, They're warning you, don't do this because this could happen. Why are they warning you? Because it could happen. So you say, well, maybe the statistics are very small. So what if they are? Things like this, you're playing, I would say, Kaufman's language, you're playing Russian roulette. You're playing Russian roulette. Oh, that won't affect me. You don't know. You're playing with fire. They're going to say, well, stakes are much higher. Stakes are much higher if someone's married. True. Very true. But there are countless stories of divorce because of social media. Now you're going to say, come on. There must have been other issues. You're right. There were issues. There might have been issues. Person gets comfort from somebody, listens to them. Maybe the spouse doesn't listen to them so much. Other things come a little more chummy. Next thing you know, whatever. And there have been cases, many cases. This has happened. Not far-fetched. Not making this up, so to speak. And I know of a story. My Rebbe told me this years ago. Of a story, someone, 10 kids, 11 kids, person met someone online. That was it. You're going to say, come on, there are other things going on. You're right. I'm not saying, all things being equal. You can tell me, well, maybe the person got sucked in. Could be. There are predators out there. No question. I'm not saying that, I'm not necessarily saying they're going to abuse the person, but there are people out there relentless. They just keep coming and coming and coming. Right? It's like the thrill of the chase. And someone who may be a little bit vulnerable can get sucked in. But even if they're stronger, right? Even if they're stronger, the issue is that someone just could come with their claws out. They don't care about the vulnerability of someone else. They don't care what happens afterwards. It's the thrill of the chase. But they don't give up. That's the thing. Is you got some people, I'm not going to say everybody's like this, but you got some people that they just keep coming. They don't stop. So, what we call that in the vernacular and secular terms? It's called harassment. It's called harassment. I'm not saying you can put someone in jail for that per se, but you can cause them problems. So you go to the police for such a thing. There are predators out there. 100% there are predators out there. Right? So, so a person has to be careful. Now, a person will say, well, what do they meet someone in the process of conversion? Okay, so what about it? Right? The problem, again, most rabbinical courts will tell you, and you're not just going to hear it from me, and that is the best thing to do before conversion is not to date. That is the best thing to do. That's what everyone's going to tell you. Now, you say, but I met someone going in the same path. They really hit it off, different things. Again, the answer is going to be put it on ice until after conversion. Even if it's two non-Jews. Obviously, it's a Jew and a non-Jew. It's worse, 10 times worse. It's a little bit easier if they're married. Right? It's easier, in the sense that, okay, you don't have to necessarily push them apart. But they're married now. So if they're married, there is a major red flag. And that major red flag is the rabbinical court is going to want to make sure the person is not converting for the sake of marriage. That's a major red flag. And they'll do whatever they can to to ascertain that, to make sure that's the case. And they're not married for that. You can't marry for ulterior motives. You can't say, well, I'm going to, I'll keep the entire Torah except for this one thing. Not going to happen. Ulterior motives, 10 times worse. Because how do you know? How do you know the person is really sincere? Right? So what they're going to have to say, I'll give you a cheat sheet over here. What they're going to have to say is, if this person, this Jew, God forbid, got hit by a truck, died of COVID, or who knows what, it doesn't matter what happens to them. They get dropped dead tomorrow. But I'm still going to go through conversion anyway. That is the message they have to convey. That they're going to have to convey a lot of times to make sure Beis Din understands I'm coming no matter what. This Jewish spouse doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. I would have done this anyway. But again, the rabbinical court is going to make sure, want to ascertain and make sure 100% that's the case. Because if they're wrong and the person converts and there's only a name only and they fake them out, they get all the transgression. Now, does that mean they're going to take, it's going to take them exponentially longer? Not necessarily. But they have to sign off on it. They want to know as much as they can that this person 100%, is converting for the sake of heaven. I got this question a while ago. Someone was dating someone or whatever, met someone. That person already converted. It was already after conversion for that person. The person already converted a number of years. Right? So my answer is exactly the same. You gotta, forget about it. I said, if the rabbinical court knows about it, they're gonna, take their sweet time. It's got to be put on ice, if that. That's what has to be done. Otherwise, what's going to happen? Beis Din's going to take their sweet time. Beis Din could say, you know what? And, I've heard this a number of times. The Beis Din will say, guess what? Oh, you got a Jewish boyfriend, girlfriend, this, that. Well, you want to convert? You have to cut off contact, all contact. Until after conversion, all contact. It's been done. I can tell you it's been done. I know of a story happened to somebody because someone else told me the story. They made it so hard, which I'm not necessarily opposed to, but they were very bitter afterwards. They ended up getting married, but they certainly weren't as strong in their beliefs because of what happened. Because of how harsh the Beis Din was. Okay. But I understand the Beis Din. I understand why the rabbinical court would do it. Makes perfect sense. They don't want on their heads this person is, is only doing it for the sake of marriage. They want to know 100% they're doing it for their own sake. And if that person gets hit by a truck tomorrow or who knows what, they're still going to convert anyway. Right? So the question is, two people in the process of conversion. Are they allowed to date? You say, well, maybe something come out of it later, maybe. Two people give each other strength and this and that. Well, I'm going to tell you, love or infatuation can be blinding. Call it infatuation. Love comes after marriage. Right? It's infatuation. Now, the problem is, yeah, it could lead to something. But what's the other problem? What's the other problem? Let's say it does lead to something, and then the other person flakes out. Now you're in love. Now you want to get married. Now you just messed up your chances of converting. You'll say maybe the person will come back. Maybe you don't know. I know of a story. Somebody, they were married. They scaled down, moved in walking distance of a synagogue. Kids were in Jewish schools or a Jewish school, let's say. And something happened and the husband snapped. Something happened and he said, I can't go through with it. I can't go through with it. Now, they live within walking distance of a synagogue. The kids are in schools. So the wife says, I can't, what am I going to go back to? Not going to go back to Christianity. I don't want to be a Noahide. My kids are, the kids are already in school. They end up getting divorced. Now, someone will say, is that what's supposed to be? No, not necessarily. Can happen. Right? Now, what could the wife have done? The wife could have said, okay, we're going to take the kids out. We'll raise them as Noahides, and that'll be it. The question is, but in this case, they're already too far gone. They've already been living this life for a number of years. How can you say, now I'm going to go back to being a Noahide? They're going to take your kids out of school. You mess up the kids in the process. Different ways. Right? That was tragic. But that's what happened. Right? They end up getting divorced. I'm not saying that's what should happen. And by families, if they're doing it together, whatever, okay. But that's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee. What if someone, I don't know, one of the spouses get offended by something, they see something, whatever, they can't work it out. Right? This guy couldn't work it out. Something he never got over. The person snapped, he said, I can't do it. He said, I can't do it. So then what? That's how they're already married. Now, is that probable it's going to happen? No. So you can say you can't bring a proof of that because, you can't expect that to happen. Okay. But they're already married. It's a different issue. So you're going to say, come on, down the line, how do you know what's going to be? You don't. That's the point. There are two things guaranteed in life. Death and taxes, right? Not necessarily in that order. That's guaranteed. That we know. That 100% we know. So now a person, a person gets involved with someone, very good, right? Maybe it's all for the sake of heaven, beautiful. And then what happens? The other person flakes out. Let's say, or you flake out. Not everyone's going to end up converting. Let's say 20% finish the process. Well, let's say you yourself flake out. Then what happens to the other person? Then they can say, okay, well, who says I have to go through conversion? Okay. There's no guarantee on either side. That's the point. So you get involved with someone, and now this is your main, this has been your main focus for years, let's say. And now you get involved with someone, everything's good, and then somehow they flake out. And say, you know what, I can't do it, whatever. So now you've invested all this time, all this emotion. Now it could be you're not meant to convert. These are we don't bring out small philosophical issues here, right? There's a big issue over here. Maybe the person will get punished because they could have converted, and that's what happened. They got messed up, right? Right. That's what the Gemara says. A non-Jew could get severely punished because they could have converted in a shorter amount of time, and they dilly-dallied. They didn't. Well, let's say they got led astray over here. They could have converted. I'm not saying they become a Christian or a pagan. Become a Noahide, let's say. Very good. Right, but what if they really could have been Jewish? And God says you really could have been Jewish, but you met this other person. Now, how do you look at it? Do you look at it as if, okay, you didn't do it. You didn't do it, so God's not going to hold it against you, whatever. Or is God going to view it? This is what you could have done, you should have done, but you didn't. You're going to say, but not everyone's supposed to be a convert. Right? True. That's not for me to decide. That God is going to decide. But the Gemara says, if a person could have converted and they didn't, Now the question is, why didn't they convert? If they're under onus, they can't move, or whatever, different issue. Right? That's a different issue. If it's something they could have done, they just didn't, and it took longer for them, and God says that's not a good enough reason, they're going to get severely punished. So in this case, person wanted to go down the right path. They could have been, there could have been a Jew over here, and the person they're with, went by the wayside. They said, no, I can't do it, whatever. And they say, okay, I won't convert. Now, again, in such a case, I don't know how God's going to judge us. God could look at it and say, hey, you could have converted. You should have converted. Who cares about this other person? This is what you should have done for your soul. But you get emotionally involved. Totally emotionally involved. Or God can say, no, really, bottom line, you weren't meant to convert, so it's fine. Right? But the Gemara says clear. A non-Jew had the opportunity to convert, and they don't. Now you have to see what the ramifications are, what that means. So not so simple. Totally not so simple over here. You're right. Something could come out of it, maybe. But what happens? So what happens now you get messed up? You've been planning for this for so long. Gonna convert, this, that, all these great things. You meet someone, going in the same path, everything's beautiful, and they flake out. But this has been your goal. So now you're torn. Now it's a different issue. Now you're torn. You're torn because of your desire, to be, one of the Jewish people. And you're also torn for the fact you got an emotional attachment. Right? Emotional attachment is problematic here. That's the point. To be after conversion, a person's a Jew, the other person's a Jew. Very good. Okay, you want to meet, you want to see, very good. Right? You're already Jewish at that point. If you're not Jewish, you don't know what can be. And what I said before, what the Gemara says, I'm not saying the person's going to get the death penalty. They're not going to get the death penalty, if they could have converted, they didn't. But there is going to be severe payback. There is going to be severe payback. Won't be death. What's it going to be? We'll leave that to other people speak about death in Gehenna. Ain't going to be me. There's going to be serious payback. So I would say it's not worth it. Now, if someone, wants to be wiser than me, when they decide, I want to go through this anyway, okay. Person can do what they want. This is not in the code of Jewish law over here. Right? A person has to be careful. So a person, let's say, a person comes back and say, hey, we met, this, that, we both converted, we got married. Beautiful. That'd be a beautiful thing. But there's no guarantee, there's no guarantee. First of all, there's no guarantee. Second of all, a person's emotionally attached. Watch the movie When Harry Met Sally. Whatever. A person's emotionally attached is a whole different thing. Whole different thing. This person told the story. He was married. He converted. He lost his spouse. And he had remorse. Yeah, he's happy he's a Jew. Maybe he'll be, happier. I don't know what ended up happening. If he ever got remarried or not. Maybe that'll take some of the pain away. Right? But at the same time, what happened? He said, I have regrets. I have regret over here. Again, they're happy they're a Jew, but they paid a price. They paid a price. So it's better to what? It's better to wait. Definitely better to wait after conversion. You don't know what's going to be. And once the person is emotionally involved, you don't think straight. You don't think with your mind. Your heart is being used like silly putty. right? So everything you built up, I'll make it real graphic. Let's say, it took a person, I know of somebody, whatever, was married, conservative conversion, wife did not want to have an Orthodox conversion. Now, there are other issues also, but it took the person a long time to get out of it before he could actually even go to Beis Din. Couldn't go to Beis Din because he's still married to someone who didn't want to convert properly. But they were emotionally involved. I mean, understandable. They were married. I mean, there were other issues also. This wasn't the only issue. But without going into any of that, the point is it took the person a long time. A long time to even get out. They were doing everything they needed to do, but they couldn't go to they couldn't go through Beis Din. They couldn't go to Beis Din because they're still married. So it's problematic. So the person had it very difficult in so many different ways. But once they made that decision, all kinds of doors opened up. Financially, other ways. Unbelievable what happened. But they paid a price. They were so emotionally involved, they couldn't get out of it. It was very hard to get out of until they finally decided this is what I have to do. Very hard decision. Not like they don't have feelings for this person. They still do, but at the same time, there were other issues. And this was the final thing. Right? You could have stayed in Noahide. Didn't want. But there were other issues. Wasn't the only issue. But that held the person back. Till the person finally had to make a break. Held them back for years. Years. Person doesn't want to second guess over here. Someone could tell me good. Someone could go through the process, meet someone in the process and get married. It happens. I'm not going to say it doesn't happen. But it's easy to get distracted. When you get distracted, it can take longer. It can take longer. So most people would say, better to date afterwards. And what happens if you met someone now? Again, fine. Should you be trying to date someone? I wouldn't say that. Definitely wouldn't say that. So that's what I would say. That's what I would definitely say. Someone wants to say, well, I'm in the process of meeting someone, this and that. Okay, it's your choice. If it works out, very good. If it doesn't work out, okay. But let's make one thing very clear. Once the heart has been affected, once there's a lot of emotion, it throws everything off. Everything off, right? Anyone's been in relationships, everybody knows. Right? I don't need to be this guru marriage counselor, therapist, or which I'm not either, or a dating expert by any stretch. Same time, we know psychologically, a person's affected by their heart, by emotion. And when a person's tremendously emotionally involved, they don't think straight. They think with their heart, not with their mind. Someone asks, is it considered converting when you're becoming a Noahide? No. A person, a non-Jew, who doesn't want to convert, de facto they'll be a Noahide. Right? That's where they have to start anyway. Right? So, is it a starting point for conversion? If they want to convert, yeah. Definitely true. Is it considered converting? If a person says, I want to convert, okay, so they're JIT, they're keeping the Noahide laws, but there's a difference. Because a Noahide over here can learn what it means to be a Jew. That means they're in the process of conversion. If they just want to be a Noahide, then they shouldn't be taking classes to be a Jew. Right? It's not a de facto thing. Once you're a Noahide, that means you're converting. Doesn't mean that. There are plenty of people Noahide, they have no intention to convert. They have zero intention to convert. Is there a ceremony? Is there a ceremony for converting to become a Noahide? Depends who you ask. there are certain groups that say, I'm going to be very careful what I say here so I don't get slammed, like I have in the past. There are groups that'll say you should go in front of a rabbinical court and declare you're a Noahide. They'll give you a certificate, you can put it on your wall, looks very nice. Okay. Is the person obligated to make a Noahide declaration in front of somebody? They should, definitely should. Should they do it in front of a rabbinical court? There's no obligation. If they want to, makes it a little more authoritative. Okay. They can have the rabbinical court sign it. They can put it in a frame. They can put it on the wall. Okay. Do they have to do that? No. Does it make people feel better by making this declaration and frame, and putting this piece of paper on their wall? Yeah, it does. Right? Some people swear by it and say, yeah, it's a good thing to do. So I would say, my personal opinion, you want to do it, okay. If you want to do it in front of one witness, also fine. It doesn't have to be, such a major thing. But if it gives a person strength by doing it, they're allowed to do it. The only time you'd be obligated to do it is by a ger toshav. Right? We don't have a ger toshav today. No status of a ger toshav today. So obligation, there is none. Doesn't matter what anyone tells you. Right? I know someone who, made this whole declaration reading the Rambam, and saying that you have to make this declaration. But, if you know the Hebrew in the Rambam, it says only by a ger toshav. Doesn't say by a Noahide. It says by a ger toshav. So I confronted the person. He said, yeah, I know. No, it's not Go back, make a video, say, I was wrong. It's not true. I misled you. Oh, they're not going to do that. Certainly not going to do that. They're going to call me out because I called that piece of paper a piece of tissue paper. Because that's what it's worth. Right? If someone says, that's why I got in trouble. Because if someone says, well, it makes me feel better, it makes me feel stronger, makes me identify better with the Noahide. Okay. I'm not going to tell people not to do it. That was my clarification. I'm not going to say you can't do it. You're allowed to do it. Is the piece of paper worth anything? According to Jewish law? No. That's why I call it the tissue paper. It's not worth anything. But it makes you feel better. Okay, so you can do it. You're allowed to do it. Just, I wanted to make sure people understand, maybe a little bit too graphically. Right? But I want to make sure people understand halachically he's not buying you for anything. Zero. You're going to say, but it makes me feel better. Okay. Right? But make no mistake. Right? Let's make 100% clear. The Rambam says you have to make a declaration in front of a beis din for a what? A ger toshav, not a Noahide. Big difference. And is there any law today for ger toshav? No. So why quote something and misrepresent it? Oh, good question. People do it all the time. If it was a reformer conservative Jew, I wouldn't even care. If it was a Messianic, I probably wouldn't even care. Or a Christian. Doesn't matter. Because they misrepresent everything anyway. Oh, you call yourself an Orthodox Jew? And now you misquote the Rambam to make it fit into your world outlook to convince people that can't read Hebrew? Yeah, I take issue with that. I was just telling someone today. Someone quoted, mentioned to me about something, this, whatever, more Orthodox rabbi, that whatever. So I said I wouldn't trust anything this person says. I told him, I don't care what this person says. I don't care what the person does. Bottom line, in my eyes, not all one Orthodox rabbis do this. The person misleads people. That's what he does. I don't trust a word the person says. But I said, one of my personal pet peeves, as most people know, I don't like people misrepresent or lie. It's just something I can't stand. I won't stand for it. I'll call them out on it. Because they deserve to be called on and say, oh, this is what the Torah says. It doesn't. You're making it up. Made in your own mind. But for goodness sakes, do not quote something in front of people who can't read Hebrew and it doesn't say what you said it said. Now, I spoke to this person privately. I boxed him in a corner. And he hammered me and said, you can't say that it's worth tissue paper. And I said, and you can't say that's what the Rambam says. You can't misquote what the Rambam. Yeah, I know. No. It's not I know. It means you're wrong. That's not what the Rambam says. And you're misleading people to convince them to do something. I don't care if you're not charging them. Doesn't matter. You're doing it for free. Very good. So what? You want to convince people to go in front of a rabbinical court, right? To go in front of a rabbinical court to get this piece of paper that's not really worth the paper it's written on. It makes them feel better. Okay. The person wants to do it. Great. Do not say publicly, privately, or anywhere else, that's what the Rambam says, because that's not what he says. Sorry, that's not what he says. And the answer was, yeah, I know, but no, there are no buts. You don't misquote what he says to convince other people, and they make me look like an idiot thing. Oh, he said it's like tissue paper. Well, what is it? Is there an obligation to go in front of a rabbinical court to declare the Noahide laws? Yes or no? No. Who does that apply to? Ger Toshav. Very good. Do we have a Ger Toshav today? No. We don't have a Ger Toshav. So why do it? Because it makes people feel good. Okay. People want to do it. I'm not coming down against it. They can do it. 100%. They want to frame it. Very good. Just understand how logically speaking it means nothing. Okay? So if a person says, I understand that, and I'm going to do it anyway, and I think it's worth more than tissue paper, okay? Right? So it's a good thing I don't have a board of directors over me. You say, okay, that went too far. Maybe. Maybe. I made a clarification 2 or 3 times. I made it clear what I meant. But I don't want someone misquoting something. It's not true. And telling people they should do it. Almost like they have an obligation to. They don't. If it makes you feel better, okay. Very good. You want to get afraid to make, it strengthens what you did, fine. No one's going to say there's anything wrong with it. Right? Just understand what it is. Right? That was my point. So people say, you made it way too strong. You put people off. Okay. Maybe I shouldn't have said it as strong. But I want people to understand. I want people to understand how halachically speaking doesn't mean anything. Makes you feel good? That's not halacha. No matter what it makes you feel good or not. You want to do it? Great. Just understand there's no halachic ramification. Someone asked, what if you study and prepare and train for at least a year? And after we move into Jewish community, and the court doesn't approve the conversion. Court doesn't approve it. Right? So they can have any number of reasons why they don't want to sign off on the conversion. So it could be, you might have to go to a different rabbinical court. You have to find out why they won't do it. But if a person has the requisite knowledge, and all things being equal, they move into the community, they move within walking distance, they should approve it. Maybe they have other reasons why they won't. It doesn't mean they should. Right? If they have good reasons, different issue. They may have reasons why. Not that they don't want to do it. Or it's about money or about, they could have good reason. If they don't have good reason, right, then it's wrong. Right? They want to see, the bottom line is they want to see a person, in the community within walking distance of a synagogue, keeping what they need to keep, through a whole cycle for a year. Right? Under certain circumstances, it may convert them before. Let's say they have the requisite knowledge. They move into the community. Could they convert them relatively short amount of time? Could be. And they probably won't. They just want to, see them in action and different things. Right? It doesn't necessarily mean they're not ready. Right? They just, want to see them because they don't know who they are, per se. Yeah, a lot of questions here. Can I visit a yeshiva or a kollel? Why not? certainly can. It's one of the things, like I mentioned before. It's one thing I'm trying to, set up when I go up north is it's a learning center for people to come, for non-Jews to come in order for conversion, and even non-Jews want to be Noahites, they want to come see the land, see the country. Why not? Why shouldn't they come? Why shouldn't they come and have class? I would say most yeshivas, I don't know how gung ho they'd be about having people come visit. If come visit, I don't think they would care so much, right? Visiting probably not such a big issue. If they wanted to take some classes there, that might be an issue. That definitely might be an issue. That certainly could be an issue. But coming to visit, why should that be a problem? Are there any restrictions for Noahide on having or cutting a beard? No, not that I know of. Shouldn't apply. Right, cutting off the, making sure a person has, sideburns. They don't cut off different areas of their beard. At least down totally to the skin, or they uproot it. Like this. I saw a commercial once for a certain electric shaver. It says, it's just as good as a blade because it takes the root, it cuts the hair from under the root. I was like, that's forbidden. Yeah, you're not allowed to do, right? So you can say, so where are your sidewalks? So mine aren't as long, right? But, as long as you can grab hair like this, everyone can see. Like this, that's enough, right? That's enough. I mean, you have to have a beard, not necessarily, but there's certain places you can't trim, right? You got your four, you got your, over here by the jawbone, top, bottom, and in the middle. Some say just, just here, just up top. So there's a whole question. That's why you'll see, religious people that don't have a beard, right? So, this part, you'll be allowed to shave, right? In general, some people say you should, we're not sure where the area is, so you shouldn't shave it at all. But for no eyes, it wouldn't apply. It's not something that makes sense. Not something that makes sense logically. Someone asked, what are the requirements for becoming a ger tosha? Well, one of them is you need the sabbatical year. Let's say better. You need there to be a jubilee year. And we don't have a jubilee year. Jubilee year, we have sabbatical year here in Israel, but we do not have what I would call what the Torah calls a jubilee year. So we don't have a jubilee year. So you need to have a jubilee year to be a ger tosha. So since we don't have that, then there's no such thing as a ger tosha. So that's one of the main requirements. It also holds in by the Noahide laws, but again, there has to be a jubilee year. No jubilee year, you can't do it. Can learning Yiddish be an advantage to convert under Litvish Charedim? Is it an advantage? I don't know if it's an advantage. You have to know how to read Hebrew. You have to know how to read prayers. You have to know how to follow a prayer service. Person can learn Yiddish. I don't think it's a prerequisite. Totally not a prerequisite. Not a prerequisite. Does it help? I don't know. I don't know if there's any advantage. If you want to be Hasidic, there's an advantage, right? There's definitely an advantage, right? But, if it's a question of learning Yiddish and taking time learning Yiddish and taking time out from learning other things, it's a different issue. I wouldn't tell people to do that. I tell people, learn what you need for conversion. If you have some spare time, you want to learn that, very good, right? But not the expense of other things. Someone asked, I was circumcised when I was 5 years old, right? Now I need a second circumcision. How painful is it? Depends what they took off. If they took everything off, there's nothing else to take off, right? If they got all the foreskin off, then all they have to do is just draw blood. So that is not painful. That is not painful. They just do a little bit of a prick to draw blood, and that's it. right? But if it's already been taken off, then it's been taken off. It's nothing to do, right? Nothing else to take off over here, right? So that'd be the case, right? If that was the case, then you're not gonna suffer that much, right? It's just a little bit of, you draw a little bit of blood. That's it, right? If some of the foreskin was not taken off, let's say, yeah, that could be painful. I know somebody that was supposed to have was supposed to be done right, and I don't know, there was something there that got missed. I don't know exactly what, and it caused a lot of problems because they went through a stringent conversion. His wife and his kids converted. He ended up converting. Whatever, the whole story. It was the whole story, and I got screamed at by this rabbinical court. They said, "How'd you not know that?" I said, "Because I didn't ask. I assumed it was done properly." It's an Orthodox rabbinical court. They sent them oil to check him, to do it, whatever. Someone who does circumcision, and somehow something got messed up. I don't know. I have no idea. Zero idea. The person had to do it. Yeah, he had to do it. It was a lot of pain. Not going to say not. It was in a lot of pain. For whatever, a couple of weeks. The person was in pain. Now, if the entire foreskin was taken off, there's nothing else to do. The only thing you're going to do is what they call hatafas dan bris. Hatafas dan bris means they just draw blood. And drawing blood is not a big deal. That doesn't hurt that much. Someone here mentions Victor Miller of blessed memory was a Litvak, right? A Lithuanian Jew, and he spoke Yiddish at home. Yeah, but he grew up with it. So, it's a little bit different. I'm just saying, I wouldn't tell someone to learn Yiddish at the expense of learning blessings or kashrus or prayer. If you have time, very good. You want to learn it, very good. I wouldn't tell someone to do it, to learn at the expense of other things. Someone here mentions King Solomon had 700 wives, 300 concubines. Some were not Jewish. Yeah, even if they converted, yeah, what's the point? It caused them to fall, right? Right, definitely caused them to fall. It says as if he did idolatry. But he didn't do idolatry. 100% he didn't do idolatry. Right, but they led him astray. True. I think it would have been different if all the non-Jewish wives would have been Noahites. Very good. Let's see. Probably would have been better, right? If they were strict Noahites and were doing what they needed to do, yeah. Maybe it would have been less of a problem because Gemara says that, it's like he did idolatry, but he didn't do idolatry, right? The point was, though, it could be even if they were Noahites, married to all these women, being with all these women, he had different reasons why, it doesn't matter, right? A person can be led astray that way also, right? I don't know if it matters. The worst part over here is the point where he was led astray, right? He married to too many women. So here would be better. Maybe it's not going to cause him to idolatry, right? So that's definitely better. But it could cause other problems also. Someone here mentions building Noahide communities are a mistake. Rabbi Yaron Ruvain made a video, about coming out against building Noahide communities. So I'll take a look at that because that's exactly what I'm going to help try and do. But obviously under rabbinic supervision, right? What are you going to do? Have Noahides be part of your show? What should Noahides do? Rabbis do not want them part of their synagogue. They don't want all these non-Jews. I mean, even if there were a lot, however many. They don't want these non-Jews coming to the synagogue. So where are they supposed to go? Now, some rabbis allow them to come. Come here, come there, whatever it is. So what's the problem? I have to see what he says. Yeah, well, what's the problem? If you're making non-Jews run by non-Jews, they're gonna say that's a new religion. I don't know. See what he says. See what his proofs are against. But if you have a community where they're getting direction from rabbis and they're having people give classes there, and they're living I would say within proximity of an Orthodox community, what's the problem? Why would that be a problem? Right? If they're within striking distance, 2-3 hours away, hour away, whatever, and they're doing things on the guidance of Orthodox rabbis, what should be the problem? I know what you're going to say, well, that's making up a new religion. We're not telling them to make up a new religion. Right? They have certain prayers they want to say. Who says they're not allowed to? Right? So we'll see. Right? I'll take a look at it. Does modesty apply to non-Jewish men or women? Not necessarily. Right? If a non-Jewish woman dresses to kill, it could be, maybe we'll say, she'll put a stumbling block in front of men. If we say that putting a stumbling block is forbidden for non-Jews, but let's say, it might be forbidden. Why? Why? Because they could put a stumbling block in front of someone. A woman, not necessarily a man. But is the woman allowed to dress any way she wants? Non-Jewish woman or guy? Yep. Are there any issues? Again, I would call it a moral imperative. At best. I think it's good for a woman to dress modestly. For her own sake. Not for, guy might look and stare and then he's got his own problems. Okay. And, she may cause him to look. Okay, but it's still his problem. So the issue is that, is it forbidden for her? No. Should she be careful how she dresses? For her own sake, I would say yes. She doesn't want to be objectified. And if she's objectified, you'll say it's the guy's fault. Okay. The only thing I'm going to say is, I'm not saying, a woman's going to get what she deserves. I'm not going to go that far. Right? Guy has to control himself also. But at the same time, she dresses in a provocative way. They're going to say guy has to control himself. He does. And that's that. We're not going to push that aside. That is true. 100%. But at the same time, she means herself. She debases herself by dressing like that. And even if she got what to show, even if she's, beautiful, this and that. I guarantee, and I'm a guy, I guarantee most guys are going to speak to this woman. It's not because of her brain power. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. I could be wrong. But I tend to doubt it. So then she brings on herself. They're going to say, come on, guys have to control them. I said, you're right. I don't disagree. 100% a guy has to control himself. But when a person dresses in such a way, in a provocative way, what does she expect people are going to think of her? Or how they're going to react to her? Or what they may try and do to her. And trying, whatever. I'm going to say it's not her fault. She's dressing in a certain way. She doesn't know any better. Okay. But doesn't she know what society does? Doesn't she know what goes on? She didn't grow up in Victorian England. Again, we're not saying guys should be abusive and other things. But a woman dresses a certain way. She can't expect, someone's going to be interested in her mind. So it debases her. Debases her inner beauty. 100%. Tell that to the world. Now, some may agree. Some may actually agree that this is a big problem. It's been a big problem for a long time. Long time. Women are objectified, certainly in the media, magazines, all kinds of things. To sell who knows what. I remember I was in South America. South America might be a little bit more risque, maybe than in the States. I was in a supermarket. They had posters there, whatever, advertising different products. I said, you got to be kidding. It's a supermarket. If I had people dressed however they were dressed or not dressed, trying to get you to buy certain things. That debases the woman. That's what it does. A guy shouldn't look. You're right. Right? And the fact is, she dresses a certain way and a guy looks, he transgresses. There's no question. A Jew, let's say better. A Jew transgresses. No question about it. So you're going to say, well, it's not her fault. Could be. A person dressed in a certain way, then she's putting a stumbling block in front of others. That's a problem. That 100% the problem. Yeah, it could be a problem for Noah. Right? We don't necessarily hold that way. Right? We don't say that there's putting a stumbling block, applies to non-Jews. What I'm saying is a moral imperative. Someone asked, wouldn't the Noahide community be similar to what is written and described in Numbers of Leviticus? That what? The Noahide live among the Jewish nation. Yeah, we're talking about separate. I think what he's going to come out against is making separate communities, not within the Jewish community. And that looks like a different religion. But again, if it's under rabbinic auspices and they're being watched and they're doing, what they should be doing, then what's the problem? If the claim is probably going to be, it's like you make it up a new religion. That's what it's going to be like. That's what it's going to be like. Right? If you're within striking distance of an Orthodox community, very good. So you can get guidance. You have people speak there, different things. Right? But Jewish communities don't want them. That's the bottom line. They don't want Noahites. They don't want their, all these non-Jews starting to come, or even some of them. There are some that don't care. It's like, great, let them come. Let them, let them pray there, whatever. Okay. Right? Some won't have an issue. Many rabbinic authorities, many rabbis and synagogues would. They wouldn't even know what to do with these people. Right? So, if wherever they live, they have a group that comes, they have a storefront, they live stream classes, they have, whatever. The only issue could be, again, I shouldn't really talk too much until I see what he says. But the only thing I can think of is the fact that, you're making a new community. Say better, you're making like a new religion. Who says? Who says it's a new religion? Are they allowed to come and pray? They're allowed to come and pray. They want to have a gathering, amongst themselves, and teach the Noahide laws, or have rabbis teach. What's the problem? Unless you tell me that, if you're setting up separate communities that don't have contact with Jews and other things, then I understand. Then I understand it'd be a problem. If you're going to call it a separate religion or whatever. It's like you're making up a new religion. That I have to see. That I have to see. Right? I'll see what he says. Is a Hillel community the same as Chabad? No. Hillel, they're like touchy-feely Jews. They're not Orthodox. Definitely not Chabad. But a lot of Jewish kids go to Hillel on campus. Makes them feel Jewish. Different things, right? But they're not Orthodox. Most of them certainly not. So I wouldn't say it's like Chabad at all. Any other questions? How can I know which rabbi truly teaches Torah or not some heretical stuff? Ask. Go ask whoever you trust as a rabbinic authority and ask them. How do you know anybody who teaches Torah? Right? Plenty of people out there teach Torah heretics. All you have to do is ask who they are. Right? Unfortunately, there are a lot of them out there. There are a lot that are out there. So I would say, even if you don't learn Talmud, it doesn't matter. Right? How are you going to know anything? Yeah, you have to go to Jews. So you go to an Orthodox rabbi and ask him, can I learn from this person? Is this person a heretic, not a heretic? Right? A person has to have credentials. Has to have rabbinic authorities they ask questions to. Right? So you're right. You might not know if it's heretical or not. But listen, there are plenty of people over the internet, saying this person's a heretic, that person's a heretic. What they say, and I'm not doubting it. A lot of them I know. A lot of these people I know. You shouldn't trust the word that some of them say. I get it. right? And I'll come out against them also, right? So how do you know? So again, a rabbi to you has to be like somebody, it's going to be like an angel. Doesn't mean that they make mistakes. But, if you're not sure, you have to ask someone who you think you do trust. That would be in the know. How similar biblically Ramon to Hebrew? Not similar, not so similar. Some of the words are the same, but they have different meanings. Whatever. They're not, what we call Lashon HaKodesh, the Hebrew language or the holy language. Yeah, some words are the same, true, right? But a lot, it's not so similar in different ways. Someone there mentions the temple at the court where Gentiles could come in. You're right, Gentiles could come in. They could bring sacrifices. That's they could. It wasn't a Gentile court per se, right? At least not that that I'm aware of. Let's double check that. There were places where non-Jews could come in. Yeah, so there was a place for Jews, Gentiles to come, people that are ritually impure, right, to come. Again, that's not the same thing. That's not a Noahide community. That's just a certain place they're allowed to come, right? That's a different issue. They're allowed to come there, it's not a place that's a problem of ritual impurity and different things. So, that wouldn't be an issue. That's not making your own community. That's not making your own community. They're just being allowed in a certain place in the temple in order to do, to do other things. To do other things, that's not the same as making your own community, per se. Right? That's a totally different thing. So whatever, next week, I will, without making a vow here, bullying that there, I will take a look at that and, and see what he has to say. Because I know that is the goal of some people, myself included. So, trying to set up these communities, but in a very specific way. Not just having totally separate communities. That's not the case, right? But again, I don't want to comment until I see what he says. It says not are the strangers what we call Noahides. Strangers are not. Strangers could be called idolaters also. Doesn't just mean Noahides. But a Ger Toshav was someone, someone is known as who kept the Noahide laws, right? When it says a Ger in the Torah, a lot of times it's speaking about a Jew, a convert, but it could also be talking about a Ger Toshav, right? Somebody who lives amongst the Jewish people, doesn't convert, that i.e., a Noahide. So the term would more be like a Ger Toshav. Even though sometimes it's Ger Toshav, sometimes it says Ger. So Ger could either mean proselyte, meaning a convert, or it can mean a Ger Toshav. You have to see the context, right? But there's some fruitcakes out there that every time it says Ger, it means like these super Noahides, this and that. Doesn't mean that at all, right? But we're not even gonna acknowledge them because they're a bunch of frauds anyway. Yeah. Any other questions? Right? Bli neder without a vow. Very good. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna stop here. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday. 9 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock Israel time. So I want to make two announcements. One announcement is that I won't be doing Tanakh Talk tonight, but I think one of my videos on Tanakh Talk that wasn't published is going to be published. He's going to put it up there tonight. So instead of me getting up a little bit earlier, he's going to be out of town, I think. So he's going to put that up. That's one announcement. Second announcement, which I made earlier in the week, is that I started this new group. It's called Pain is Your Gain, right? Anyone interested in signing up, you can sign up there. It's all about dealing with whatever frustration, disappointments, marriage issues, could be financial issues, all kinds of different things. It's not it's not for therapy. That's not what the point of it is. The point is to get strength, to get chizuk. It's really about amun and bitachon. Having faith in God, knowing how the world works, and seeing the bigger picture, which, I speak about quite a bit, and that's what, it's going to be geared. So, people can ask their questions. I am starting to make videos. I'm going to make a video later, put something up. Not going to tell you what it's going to be about, so everyone should watch it. And I have a YouTube channel also, so anyone shouldn't miss any videos. It's the same name, Pain is Your Gain. So hopefully a little bit later, I am going to put something up there, but it should give people hopefully strength, and all the difficulties and, things that, that we go through, that, and how to, properly look at them. So that's really what the forum is. Again, it's not, it's not therapy, and there are probably things that have come up that I will say that, this beyond the scope of this. That's not really what the point is, but the point to see everything from a Torah perspective and how to live it, even when life is hard. That's really what the point is. Someone said, could you be more general than that? No. We're going to cover a lot of different things. I'm going to try and, put up a number of videos weekly, generate discussion. And anyway, that's the plan. So anyone who hasn't signed up or whatever, it's on that page. Again, it's called Pain is Your Gain. And, same name as the YouTube channel as well. So otherwise, I'm going to sign out. Wish everyone a good beginning of the day, middle of the day, depending on where you are. And everyone have a great